Show called 48 Hours Later with Ashley Bastock from Cleveland.com. He's going to join in here talking about Browns, talking everything we love about our Browns football. 48 hours later, what are we still thinking? Are we still in mourning? Have we moved on? Ashley's going to take us through it. She's going to be our therapist and our analyst today. And she's going to join job covering from Cleveland.com. You should follow her on Instagram. Once we get her on here, we'll have her promote her handle too. So that way she gets some plugs. And there's Ashley now. Ashley, how are you?
Doing well. I know I feel like I'm probably doing better and moving on from this maybe a little better than Browns fans have been so far. I understand, I empathize. Like I joke, I grew up in Cleveland. Obviously have spent my whole life following the Browns and was a fan of the Browns, but it's different covering the team now. The emotional attachment or lack thereof is just very different than most fans, but I empathize with everyone still.
See, she's already a good friend for this room. There's some of us, not naming names myself, we were a little blue after Sunday,
Yeah.
but that's okay. Cameron Billman, hello. So let's actually talk about that. 48 hours later, the Browns still lose. What do you think after being able to digest it? What did you think about Sunday?
Well, I think it's an absolutely obviously brutal way to lose, right? Not just missing two key kicks from a guy who had never kicked in a real NFL game before Sunday, but also the fact that there were these two interceptions that you're always worried about interceptions with Joe Flacco. But these weren't really his fault. I mean, I think the one off of Jerry Judy's hands, Jerry was trying to make a play on that. I think maybe that could have been thrown
I
a
felt the
little
same way
better.
you did. I thought that
Yeah.
was actually 9 times out of 10. I don't think it gets picked off. It just happened to in that play.
Yes, like there were two fluky plays,
Yeah,
and
I
I
agree.
do think I left that game surprisingly in a lot of ways feeling really good about the rookies. Like the four main rookies who did a lot in that game: Mason Graham, Carson Schlesinger, Harold Fannin Jr., and the unexpected surprise in all of this to me was how well I thought Dylan Sampson played.
I agree.
So
I agree.
that's where I leave, I guess, or now sitting here 48 hours later, that's kind of how I leave feeling it. You know, it's a tough matchup for them in week two, but I think I feel better. I sound like such a typical Browns fan. I feel like this is what people do every year. We talk ourselves into things, right? But I do actually feel a lot better than how I felt in a lot of those games in 2024.
Yeah, I'm going to concur. I think now we've had a chance to take our breath and we've had a chance to sip some coffee and walk around outside and take some laps. There's a lot of positives. I'll hit on Samson for a second. Growing up in the 80s and 90s era, Dave Mega was one of my favorite players for the Giants, and he's one of these backs that just always caught the ball and ran. Metcalf, too, for the Browns. Boy, does Samson fit that mold. You can tell he is
Yeah.
going to be a dump off back and run. Do you get the excitement about him after this game? Because I felt it as a fan. Do you get that vibe in the locker room a little bit?
I do. You know, I think Dylan Sampson has very quickly, it's amazing because I don't think this happens often with rookies, but he's become one of my favorite players to cover
Interesting.
on his team. And I really think Browns fans are going to like him. I love his attitude. I love his personality. I talked to him after the game because I'm like, you know, that was a brutal way to lose. And he was still kind of finding a way to take the good with the bad as I was talking to him. And I'm like, where does this like come from? Do you hope to pass this along in this locker room? Because at times last year, it just felt demoralizing in those post game locker rooms when they go 3-14. But again, that was not the vibe I felt. I know we're going to get to that a little bit later. And Dylan was one of the players who I think really exemplified that. And he's like, you know, leadership has no age for me. I would love to kind of put my attitude out there and have it be influential in that
Right.
way. So yeah, that's kind of I think a big reason of why Browns fans are going to love him. And look, when Quinshon Judkins is here, I think Dylan Sampson is like the perfect third down option for this team.
It's a real weapon. I'm going to take one of the questions from the room. No, Noah's asking, but we're all asking. Schmidt's
Yeah.
going to be here next week, obviously. We'll jump around for a second. I have some special teams worries, even outside of Schmidt. I think Schmidt's obvious, and you can get to that first. But I thought there's critical runbacks by the Bengals that set up a second drive for a touchdown. And I don't feel comfortable with Carter. I don't know why. I don't. Now I'm down on him, but I'm like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on special teams, including Schmidt?
Yeah, so to go with the non-kicker part of it first, just because I think it's shorter. Um, I think so. Here's an unfortunate thing. It just feels like the return game has not been something they've been able to
Yeah.
figure out in my 5 years covering the team. There has been some unfortunate incidents regarding that, right? So Jakeem Grant getting hurt 2 years in a row. Then they have Naheem Hines last year, who they can't activate, and he has to miss the whole season because he got into that jet ski accident in the offseason. Like truly, just crazy stories with their returners. I don't hate the DeAndre Carter thing. Like I think maybe I'm just not bumping on it as much yet. I do think those special teams units did nothing to inspire confidence in the way that things might go the rest of the year yesterday. And truthfully, I think a big loss for this unit was Nathaniel Watson. He
Interesting. Hmm.
he made preseason plays. He forced that fumble, and I'm truthfully, I don't have the game books in front of me. I can't remember which preseason game, if it was Carolina. I want to say it was maybe Carolina. He made some plays. He was really key in that unit. So that's kind of where I stand on that. Just nothing that really wowed me. And that's something Bubba Ventrone, the coordinator, is going to have to figure out because I don't think they have that wow at returner.
Yeah,
Even though,
I just don't feel
yeah,
wow as a whole with special
yeah,
teams though. And I
yeah,
know there's not
that's fine.
hot seat pressure on Stefanski. I really don't. I do think there might be on Bubba soon. Like I think
I
there.
was kind of surprised there wasn't last year, quite
Yeah,
honestly, because last year was brutal and they were
yeah,
doing things like having those 12 man on the field penalties, and
yeah.
that's like a big part of what got Mike Prefer fired before him. So I don't blame you for feeling that way. I think it's kind of like I'm to a point with them where it's like, well, show me it. Like you're telling me DeAndre Carter's going to be your returner and he's going to be really good. Show me it. So now, like to the kicker, because that's what everyone wants to know. The Browns did not work out a kicker or anyone today. I looked at the
Yeah,
transaction wire before I came on here. I'm kind of shocked. I think it is a mistake to go into a second week and put that much on Andre Schmidt. I don't even think necessarily you have to give up on him totally, but I think it's crazy to me that we're looking at right now the possibility of him being the only kicker on that roster heading into Baltimore. I mean, it's going to be mayhem if they lose a close game because of that.
and see, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Mayhem. It is such a big game, and there's obviously the Ravens, and they're celebrating something naughty, which we're gonna get to at the end. But it just brings a lot of pressure, and it's an in-division game, and you've already lost one. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of pressure going in that game, and you play a bunch of NFC teams, so it's kind of a chance to win the game too. So just to sum this up, we're like on pins and needles with Schmidt, right? That's basically where we're
Yeah.
at. And
Yeah.
it's gonna be Schmidt or
Yeah.
bust.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like when after he missed that extra point attempt, when he went up for the field goal, I felt the same way I felt about Dustin Hopkins for the last year plus. And now I can get on my soapbox here really quickly and talk about just how they bungled this kicking position. Really, you can go back to 2022 when they drafted Cade York, and that just whole experiment failed. But then you bring in Dustin. He has an amazing 2023, not to take anything away from him. But here's the thing, after that year, they go and extend him, even though he was already under contract for 2024. They extend him an extra year. So had they just not done that, you look at the year, not many kickers survived the 2024 that Dustin Hopkins had. Career worst
I
numbers across the board. And yet he did. So now you're seeing if he can still work through it in training camp 2025
hoping,
instead of, yeah,
hoping.
instead of having a competition and getting at least two new legs in there. So now when Dustin doesn't work through it, you're left with Andre Schmidt. Now
See?
they say it's about his body of work. Okay, we don't get to see every kick these guys kick, in especially Andre when he had been here a little bit last year too. So take that at face value. That's what they said. But I'm still like, I think it's fair to question, did Andre Schmidt win that job or did Dustin Hopkins just lose it? And that's not a good position to be in.
Did you hear that? It's probably more of Hopkins lost the job. And
Yeah,
Schmidt just happened to be here. And
right.
so
He was lucky.
to this point, Browns need to really they have such a thin margin of error.
Hmm.
Scout kicking, scout kicking, scout kicking now. In fact, that's what I'd be telling scouts, like take a week and find this person. Maybe it's a soccer player, maybe it's a rugby player in Australia. I don't know. Find them and bring them here now. Now. Okay, you kind of talked about it a little bit. Let's move on to this. Locker room, though, seems to be positive, right? What was your
Yeah.
vibe in the locker room afterwards?
Yeah, I think it was positive, but not in a way that, like, I know it's never a good thing to talk about moral victories, right? And I don't think that's what they were doing, but I think last year it just, like I said, demoralizing was the word that comes to mind with how a lot of those post-game locker rooms felt, and it's just like, man, like this team is not going to get up for anything at this point, and they were eliminated so early. And that wasn't the vibe. Like the vibe was, yeah, this absolutely sucks, and we are sick of losing.
Right.
But we did some like multiple players said things like they were pissed off
Yep.
or
Yep.
that sick of losing kind of phrasing was used
Yep.
repeatedly by multiple guys independently of one another. So I think it's that good mix of anger, but we're not so down on ourselves that we're not going to get up for the next game. Now I don't know that I'm going to pick them to win in Baltimore, but here's the thing too to remember, even if I don't pick them to win. Strange things happen in this division all the time, and especially between these two teams. So never say never, but yeah, it's a tough draw to draw the Ravens in Baltimore right after losing the way you did in week 1.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, that's really well put. I have nothing to add. This is a terrible draw, and unfortunately, too, you don't even get like a bending break game because it looks like the Packers are rolling. So
Yeah,
Packers are home too, and then you get to take a breath and play the Lions, and it's just anyways, it's a tough road. The Browns just have a tough road. It is what it is. I'm glad to hear though that they're mad. I don't want people to be mad in life, but at the same time, it is good to be like, look, we're tired of this. And I think that's a really good thing because you do wonder that. So that's a good thing. All right. I thought the key play to the game, Ashley, in a weird way, was the miss safety in the end zone because that could have been that turnover the Browns needed. It was a
yeah.
great play by Burrow. They kind of escaped there. Obviously, the missed field goals are big plays in this game. Obviously, the turnovers. Is there a play that sticks out to you? That play kind of stuck out to me. It's like, damn, we almost had Burrow in the end zone if
Yeah.
there's there.
Similar along those lines, and that point, Mason Graham made a great play on that. He
Yep, yep.
collapsed the pocket. He's the one who almost got the sack safety. And then Isaiah McGuire got the sack. But along those lines, I mean, really, it was that whole sequence for me in the sense that when you have a three straight snap sequence where you are sacking the quarterback, like that is a sequence that wins you football games. Like it just is.
It does.
I
You're
I
right.
thought to myself, there is no way they are losing after this. There's just no way. So after that, for me, besides the missed field goals, the one that jumps out to me is the obviously the said Tillman ball out of the hands, and that leads to the pick. Again, I thought that was the better throw of the two. I think that one
Yeah,
kind of falls on said
I do
in
too.
totality. So and again, like we talk about the decisions they make with kicker. Look, I like said Tillman. I think he has a place on this team, but they kind of just anointed him the number 2 receiver on this roster. And in the biggest moment of the game, he could not corral the ball. So that's a tough draw too in terms of your roster building.
So let's go there for a second. I said after the game, because I felt the same way. I thought Judy was just so unlucky. I
Mhm.
see that play, and usually the ball's not there for the Bengal to pick off. They just happen to be there. I don't. I watch a lot of football. I don't see players lifting the ball in the air with their fingertips. That's basically what he did,
Yeah,
and
it
I
was
just thought
weird.
unforgivable. And I
Yeah,
kind of agree with you. I think there should be a lot of pressure on Tillman. I wonder if Thrash or Bond are going to get more reps. I kind of wonder,
yeah. I
but
think Isaiah Bond, like definitely. Now the thing is, both those guys, both Jamari and both Isaiah Bond, are just a different profile of
yeah,
receiver. Those are your smaller, shiftier guys. But look, I mean, I have the game book right here next to me. I don't remember Isaiah Bond only got one target. So did Jamari. They
yeah.
each only got one target and they caught him. Like those guys are going to get more. And there's a commenter saying more design plays for Bond. I definitely think that's going to happen. But look, the issue is he just missed most of training camp, so they're probably still working through a lot of that.
Well, I also thought in a positive because of Njoku, Fannon's getting open, and Fannon's just on some teams. Fannon be starting, okay.
Yeah,
So they really have two legit tight ends now, and Samson's a real threat. So I didn't really take as much out of like they're not getting. I actually thought Samson was the right play on multiple of those plays. And by the way, he made yards, so I have nothing wrong with that. they do need to design the deep ball to Bond a little bit. I agree with that commentator there. I have to be honest, like the Tillman thing, I mentioned this to Ashley 2 weeks ago. I don't know what to think about him. I'm interested to see again. Maybe it's Thrash, getting someone in there just to give him some more reps just to see what we can do. I think Tillman is someone to watch. Let's do some more player vibes here. I'll go first on this one. Then I'll let you go. Then we'll go vice versa. I thought Flacco looked really good for an older man for a quarterback like that. I don't have any sense that they need to do anything there. What's your thoughts on Flacco?
Yeah, I feel the same. I think you stick with him for right now, right? This first 6 games in this schedule are insane. I think it would be nuts to throw rookie Dylan Gabriel into starting any of them. So, look, I don't know. I think I've had week 5, like post week 5, post the London games circled as is this going to be the point where they make a change at quarterback? But now, look, I don't know. I'm really worried after week 3. Like, if they're 0-3 or something, but if Micah Parsons comes in here and just has his way in week 3 with this Browns offense, I don't know. Like, I think there is a world where we see Dylan Gabriel sooner rather than later if things turn sideways. But I still think I feel good about how Joe Flacco looked. I think most importantly he showed he can run some of those keepers and boots when they need him to, and I don't think people expect 40-year-old Joe Flacco to be doing that. But I thought he did a nice job with that stuff.
Go, Joe, go. Need more Joe. So you hit on a topic of a player. Juwan Jones, he got a very poor rating
Mhm.
when it comes to analytics people. I actually thought he was okay. I know he had
I
some
did
bad.
too.
I didn't
No,
think
I
he.
did too.
What was your thoughts on Jones?
I thought especially in the first half he did a really nice job. I felt like I didn't really notice him, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's like what you want. That's like kind of what you
I
want.
agree. I agree. I
To
kept
be
thinking to
fair,
myself with my son, I'm like, he's not doing anything bad. Like I know
yeah,
he's not playing great, but I'm not seeing like God. There were so many games in recent years where it's like we know who that is because you see the back of his jersey. I think once or twice with Jones, that's about it. Not too
and
much.
I've had so many people in the NFL tell me, we use the PFF ratings for so much. They are so helpful. So this is not like meant to be a knock on PFF, but with the linemen in particular on both sides of the ball, I really think oftentimes the grades for the teams, like the actual grades, are way different than what we see on the PFF ratings. Because so much of it's like assignments and play design and all sorts of those things. And safeties also have a really hard time with the PFF grading because of it. It's the responsibility question, right?
Yeah.
Like I know I hate to sit here defending JJ3 like 3 years later, but that happened to him quite a bit with his PFF grades when he was with the Browns and even when he was with the Rams. So, like, take it with a grain of salt. I thought Dewan played better than that grade when I looked it up yesterday. And look, he still didn't give up any sacks. Like that's a
I
big
agree.
deal. That's a big deal because you had Trey Hendrickson across from him for
I
most
know
of the game.
Trey was clearly fired up
Yeah,
in that game as he should be. Jerome Ford, I'll lead off with this. I thought Ford looked slow.
yeah.
What was your thoughts?
Yeah, it was not good, right? Like
Yeah.
I feel like Jerome is largely kind of in the same spot that he was like 2 years ago, and that's like not what you want to see developmentally. And look, the reality is they could not establish a run game at all. They finished with 49 rushing yards as a team, and Jerome only averaged 1.3 yards per carry. Like this is going to make Browns fans head spin, but I'll remind everyone Nick Chubb never averaged, with the exception of last year when he didn't really play a full season. He always averaged 5 or more yards per carry in his career. Like it was bananas. So this was nowhere near that. They got to get Quinshawn Judkins up to speed
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Yep. I'll. Njoku's game was interesting. What did you think of Njoku?
I mean, I think he needs more targets, but I think he had a hard time getting open. I mean, he only had 3 targets, I believe, in this game. Or no, I'm sorry. He had 3 catches and 6 targets. So, I mean, it's fine. I came away from this game feeling more impressed by Harold Fannin. And,
That's yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
it's just because of the expectations of it all. But I think also Harold Fannin is a much more versatile player than David is. And
yeah.
David needs to do more and get back to his Pro Bowl form and be healthy. but Harold's versatility is just different. And like, I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
saying he's better, but like that versatility they can use in very different ways than how they use David. And I think David just need to see him get more opportunities and make more plays.
I agree. I just think with Njoku, people need to remember that Fannin is on his way up already, and
Yeah.
so Njoku times is going to have games like this.
Yeah.
I think people are ready to like ship him out. I would not trade David Njoku. I think he actually puts a lot of attention on himself to get Samson and his friend Fannin open. So I
Yeah.
would not get rid of him. Anyways, there are some rumors about that today. Defensive side, McGuire.
Yeah, you know what? I was kind of surprised heading into this game because I thought everything we were seeing said Alex Wright was going to start. Now, those
Yep,
guys played a very similar amount of snaps because that's what Jim Schwartz does.
yep.
Truthfully, who starts doesn't quite matter. It just is that you're in the rotation. But him making the play to get that third sack, I thought was key. And I think with both him and Alex Wright, they have more that they are going to be able to show in this defense. But yeah, I came away impressed with Isaiah and what he was able to do and creating pressure and collapsing the pocket.
McGuire looks really good.
Hmm.
He's really
He's quick.
improved. He
He's
is
quick and
really.
has really good hands.
Yeah, I agree. Quick hands, and he just makes impactful plays on television. Meaning you can feel him on the television screen when you're watching him. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't feel like this next gentleman, Mason Graham. You don't, and I don't think it means Mason Graham's not playing well. But what was your
No.
thoughts on Mason Graham?
I actually thought that was the thing, right? I until I went back and watched some this game, I was like, Mason Graham was kind of quiet. He only had like three
Yeah,
tackles. But then I saw, like, as I watched, it was all the stuff that doesn't show up in the final box score, in especially that play where he almost got the sack safety. Like, that is something you can work with when it is a rookie. And I thought I want to go back and rewatch this game in full because sometimes you can catch those sorts of things
yeah.
that you don't catch just in a recap or just in highlights. Like it's because it's just not what's going to be shown, but I think it's really impactful. And yeah, I mean, I thought what I thought was going to happen is what happened, and that another rookie on the defensive side really popped off the screen, and Mason Graham kind of just quietly went about his business because that's kind of the story of Mason Graham's life a little bit.
You're right. Actually, even in Michigan at times, he
Yeah,
doesn't pop off the screen. Doesn't mean he's not doing things. Because I thought the same thing. I think I was too hard on him on Sunday. After looking back, I was like, he played better. This guy, I thought, had a huge fourth quarter. Schlesinger.
yeah. Yeah, I led my zero story with Carson. We call them zero stories. It's what I publish, immediately as the game ends. And he, to me, was the lead because he had that one hit on third down late in the game that just like he knew exactly what was coming. Like that kind of play, you can tell. Like a guy just knew what to expect.
Yeah,
And for me, that kind of showed it, and I think fans are getting to see. Look, it's in the similar vein of like a JOK, and I think that real test in that regard, in terms of that specific comparison, is going to come this week because JOK was always at his best against the Ravens and shadowing Lamar.
yeah, you're right.
But I think the way that Carson had that hit on 3rd and 4, he forces the 35-yard field goal essentially after the interception. That's a huge play for a rookie. It's huge that he's the green dot guy and knows this defense too, but you see it on a play like that in the third quarter.
No, it's just great. I agree with what Christian Morgan's saying, and I'm old enough to remember Clay Matthews. He reminds me of Clay Matthews. He is
I've heard that
really, really.
comparison quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to compare a guy ever. He reminds me exactly of Clay, where it's like he just pops on the screen, he makes plays, and he's really a difference maker. Finally, Newsome, and I bring him up because I thought he played really well. And I've been hard on Newsome over the years. I thought he actually had a nice game on Sunday.
I thought he had a really nice game on Sunday. He gets the breakup going against Jamar. I think that was obviously a key play. These guys did well against Jamar Chase. He only finished with 26 yards on 2 of 5
Yeah,
targets. So that's a good number. Good numbers for him, I should say.
yeah,
And I thought Greg did a good job on the outside. But look, I think the thing with corners is it's about full body of work. So I'm cautiously optimistic at where things are. I always remind people with that position group though they're already into their depth because MJ Emerson's out for the year. But I
yes.
thought this was a good start for Greg, and hopefully he can keep it. keep it rolling in this direction and show like look, he has something to prove, right? He's playing on that 5th-year option. He needs another contract, so he's got something to prove and needs more games like he had on Sunday.
Good start to the season is the way I put it. And again, like there's been times where I thought Newsom was just all over the place in the last 2 or 3 years. Not Sunday. Yeah, they played really well. All right, moving forward, we'll do 3 more minutes on the game coming up. The Ravens game is a lot of juice as a fan, anyways, because we hate them and they stole our team, and then they want to celebrate 30 years of being the Ravens on Sunday. I think that is rotten, bad, terrible. I think that's a fucking just awful thing, and it bothers me as a fan and as someone who works in sports. You can choose a different day.
Yeah.
I would hope someone who's an alum, like Kevin Mack or someone who's around, can walk through the locker room and be like, "Look, this is a college thing. This is a college thing. This game means a lot to the city of Cleveland."
Yeah, I mean, remember, like it wasn't that many years ago. Maybe other people. I hope I'm not making this up. I feel like this was a real thing that happened after Art Modell died, and teams across the league were doing moments of silence. And like the Browns had a home game, and they were like, "No, like we absolutely
Yeah.
can't like do this," because there was a bunch of fan backlash. They're like, "Why are we honoring this man who stole the team?" Like, it's kind of like have some self awareness, you know. I think at the end of the day, it's interesting because so many of these players, I think besides Joe Flacco, there might only be one other person on the roster that was alive when the team moved to Baltimore, which is crazy to think about, right? So I do think Kevin Stefanski is great at finding things to motivate these guys that are a bit out of the box. I do think that is one of those things. And I'm curious, and I'm sure we're going to ask him about this tomorrow. Like, is he going to give a little history lesson in one of those
Yeah.
team meetings this week and kind of explain why this is a big deal and why this win is extra important in terms of the fans? Because yeah, I mean, I was shocked when I when I saw that this was happening, and I feel like Browns fans are very slowly finding out about it today and yesterday. It was something that hadn't gotten a lot of publicity going into this week, but now that we're here, people are talking about it because it's just like, man, this is an insane way for this to play out.
Oh yeah. It's insane. One key to the game in Baltimore this week is
Takeaways. I mean, it's I'm
yeah.
going to keep saying it until the tide turns because again, the Browns lose. Like ultimately, yes, the missed kicks, I think that was a huge deal in this game. But once again, you see the turnover margin kind of determine who wins. The Bengals had 2 takeaways. The Bengals did not play well. They had 2 takeaways and they won. So look, again, it doesn't always work. I was covering the team in 2021 when they got 4 interceptions against Lamar Jackson and they still lost that game in Baltimore. It's not like 100% a determining factor, but I don't know, I'll give it like an 85% determining factor. This defense needs to figure out how to take the football away if they're going to win in Baltimore. They have to get multiple takeaways to win in Baltimore, I think.
That's gonna be my big key. But I have another one anyways. It's time to establish the run game.
Mm.
Let's get this run game going. I'll just say it. I think if it does, I think you'll see a lot more things on offense. Thank you, Ashley, for joining us. We'll be here every Thursday doing 48 hours later. 48 hours later, the Browns still lose, but we have hope. Ashley gave us
There's
hope.
hope.
Ashley, thanks for joining today.
Well, and also really quick, can I do one
Ready?
quick run game hope? Like
Yes.
it is in theory a possibility that we could see Quinshawn Judkins as soon as this week. Like
Good.
we don't know for sure that that is happening. We do not know that that is happening because no one will say anything about Quinshawn Judkins and his availability. But I'm saying that so that fans know it is a possibility. They have that 2 week roster exemption for him because he missed training camp that can be lifted at any time. It does not mean he has to sit out this second game as well. And also, the league investigation is still ongoing, but it seems like all signs are pointing to like maybe nothing happening there since charges were dropped. So we'll still have to wait and see, but that's kind of the where things are heading right now.
Oh, I have to do one more then. This Judkins thing's been so weird.
Yeah.
It's been weird to start. It's weird that it got cleared. It's weird no one's saying anything. And I actually think it's weird the NFL's put an official statement saying they're not doing anything. I think all of this is weird. I think it's
Yeah.
weird, weird, weird. BK though thinks he'll be in a pitch count. Actually, I kind of agree with what Ashley said. And it's not fair in a way to Judkins. I think the guy's got to go. I
Yeah.
think we got to give him the ball, right? I mean,
Yeah.
time to go.
Yeah, and he hasn't been here, but with running backs, it is a little different in terms of getting them acclimated. And I think like the pass protection is the number one thing you need to make sure he has a grasp on. But a lot of these concepts he is familiar with from college, like these general concepts. So they do have that going for them.
There you go. Ashley was great. She gave us an extra 7 minutes. Ashley, that's why Ashley's the best. See her here every Thursday. I mean, every Thursday. See, this is when I'm tired. I need my third coffee. Every Tuesday, 48
Tuesday.
hours later. Have a good night. Ashley, thank you. Go Browns.
Go Browns. Thank you.